Hello there, everybody. How are you? Happy Wednesday. I'm always excited. I feel like I say this all the time. I'm really excited to be talking about this today because this is part two. Oh my gosh, how are you? I'm really excited. My voice is speaking to me. Mute your volume, Laura. Yeah, I'm really excited to be talking today about this. This is part two of how I tripled my income last year. This is a behind the scenes, and I had so much fun doing it last time, and I realized that there was so much to share, and so many lessons that were not just specific to me last year. They are everything that I learned and experienced and had to work through from a mindset perspective, and even work through from a technology perspective. It's all really valuable, and I really wanted to come in and pay it forward and share because they are not Laura specific lessons. These are lessons that we can all learn from no matter where you are in your business, and apply them, at the right way in the right time for you and for your business. So if you missed part one, never fear. You're fine. I'm going to talk about some different things, and you do not have to have watch part one. I do recommend part one because I gave some background in part one that I'll repeat a couple things, but there's some things in part one that I think part one was very valuable, and I recommend that you listen to it. But what I want to share today, like I said, I'll give you a little background so that you can watch these out of order. And especially if you're live today, say hi, let me know that you're here so I can say hi back. And please ask questions if you're live. Please ask questions if you're on the replay. Just come in and tag me, or actually even if you just drop a comment, it should ping me. I would love to provide any thoughts or comments back to you with respect to any questions you have, with anything that you're learning as you're listening to this, all of that good stuff. So please feel free to make this a conversation. I had so much I wanted to share last time that I did not, I went over an hour, and I felt like I needed to say more today. I don't think I have a full hour's worth of content, but we'll see. So again, particularly for those of you who are live, please feel free to ask a question. We can really juice it up and get you some coaching here in the moment if that's something that you'd like to do. And feel free to listen, just listen anyway, or instead, and participate at whatever level you like. So last year, just a little bit of background, particularly for those of you who haven't watched the first part, and I'll put the part one, I'll put that in the comments here so you can, kind of watch them, listen to them at your leisure in whatever order you want. Excuse me, a little bit of background. This is a behind the scenes. This is how I tripled my income last year, but it's also about how I tripled my income last year and still had challenges in my life to deal with. Particularly, I injured my neck, which kept me from typing, clicking with a mouse, using my phone. All of those things were really painful for me at varying levels of degrees between June and December. I'm still healing. I'm doing a lot better. And I'm able to use the computer way more now than I was able to most of the second half of last year. But this is an example, I think, so much of what we all want to believe, and I think my business was a great example of last year. Is we want to know that and I'm not going to stop talking about this, we're building sustainable businesses. We want to know that we can set something up in our business that not only will take care of us financially, not only will create fulfillment for us. I think all of you heart-centered entrepreneurs like me, you started this business out with a plan and a mission and a type of work you wanted to do and something that lights you up. And and the way that you specifically want to serve the world. And we want that fulfillment too. And we also want to know that what we create for ourselves in our business, that when the shit hits the fan, or if the shit hits the fan, or if something doesn't go according to plan, which by the way is life, right? We can make really great plans, but we do have to be able to create sustainable businesses that can keep going even when we hit an injury in our bodies and we can't work in the same way that we need to, even when a team member leaves, even when we lose a client, even when our income drops, even when we have a personal situation that we need to take care of and might be pulling us away from work, or we might need to change our schedule. We want to know that we have something that's sustainable, that will be okay, even when something goes not according to plan, or even when we have to adjust to something. And that's a lot of what I think the big lessons are here from what happened in my business last year. And I said this last time in part one, but I want to say it again. Today is not about how me having a neck injury made me triple my income. This is actually, and I just want to be really clear, I don't believe in, the universe brings you things and forces you, like, yes, we have lessons and all of those things, but this isn't about, I needed to slow down and let go of control and lean into support. And so therefore I was slammed, put into physical pain so that I would finally relent and give up control and let my team run my business, right? Which is a dramatic description of not what happened in my business last year. So I don't believe that, but this is about being able to keep going and to hold both. I can hold, God, my neck really hurts and I still want to, run this business. Let's find, some solutions to this. Let's find some ways to adjust. So the big lesson in all of this is sustainability. The big lesson in all of this is building something that makes sense for you, that can keep sustaining itself and be repeatable, even when and even if you take a vacation, even when and even if you lose a team member, even when and even if you need to take more time off or change your structure, that the basics can stay put and just simply be adjusted. That I think is the biggest lesson of all from last year. And that's why I'm sharing this in two parts, because there's so much to share around it. And so many nuances and things. I think one of the things that I want to start with today is like this concept of not oversimplifying, but I think when you look at the online space, the way that people speak about how to run a business or how to scale your business, or even how to just get started and grow and start bringing in money, that this is the way to do it. And that always really it just bothers me, because there are lots of ways that you can run your business, and there are lots of strategies you can choose from, and lots of ways that you can scale. And that's one of my gifts, is helping my clients find what really makes the most sense for them, getting a business model in place that works for them, for their business, for their industry, for them as a unique business owner, for their team. Everybody is unique. And while I believe that every strategy works, you're better off if you can pick something that is easy, relatively speaking, for you, or aligned with you in terms of being able to implement it with the most ease possible. And so I want to talk a little bit today. The first part of today's conversation is about, like, I didn't triple my income by doing some of the really obvious things, or some of the things that I did on its surface you would not think contributed to me tripling my income. And that's because you can't look at your business on the surface. You can't look at your business on the surface. You can't look at anybody's business on the surface. You can, I mean, you have to, that's how you start to look at someone, right? You look at their website, you look at their social media, but just like you can't judge a book by its cover, just like you can't know a person just by, like, you don't know me just by watching today's live, right? Probably get to know some pieces of me, but you can't fully comprehend the complexities and the nuances and the style and the vibe and talents of a business or a business owner just on the surface. And that's why I want to sort of shatter some myths or like tell you some things about what I did last year and have you sit with that for a second and go, huh, I wouldn't think that she could do that and, you know, triple her income. Okay, I'm just going to double check and see if we have. Hi, Tanisha. Welcome, welcome, my dear. Let me know if you have any questions. I knew there was somebody on there. Okay. Okay, so number one, and I talked about most of these, I think I talked about most of these in part one, which was a few weeks ago. Like I said, I'll stick a link here in the comments. The first thing, and this isn't something that I did differently last year, this is just something that I continued. So I talked last time, I did raise my rates last year. So from 2020 to 2021, by the end of the year, my rates had a little bit more than doubled. 2020, I think I ended the year in 2020 charging $3,000 for my one-on-one coaching program. And then by the end of the year 2021, I was charging $6,500. And now my rates are $8,500, just to be fully transparent. But the rates went up over the course of a year. Okay. So if that's the case, and I like kind of double, let's just for math's sake, simplicity, I doubled my rates. You might think, well, okay, so that's the thing she did, right? That's the single thing she did. She pretty much doubled her rates. So of course she tripled her, like at minimum doubled her income, right? But first off, I tripled it. So this thought that raising your rates is a guarantee is not. I'm very big on raising your rates. I coach my clients all the time. Most of us undervalue ourselves. And so raising your rates over time in a way that feels good and with integrity to you. I have a whole live just on pricing that I will share as well, or you can check it out in the little featured section if I think it's from last spring. So it is important, of course, to have rates that feel accurate and with integrity for you. But here's something that I do that isn't obvious and certainly does not help me triple my income last year, is that I grandfather all my clients in. I talked about this a little bit last week or last time. I grandfather my clients in such that when you start working with me, you obviously you come in at the rate that is current in that moment. And then for as long as you continue working with me without pause, you get to keep your rate locked in at that rate. So I have 50% of my clients, I actually had to go back and look this up. 50% of my clients last year celebrated their 1, 2, 3, or 4-year anniversary with me in 2021. 50% of my clients, and that's more than 4 people, 50% of my clients last year celebrated a 1-year anniversary, a 2-year anniversary, a 3, and a 4. I had only been in business for 4.5 years at the end of last year. So I have one client that's been with me for 4 years. They do not pay the same as you if you come in and start working with me today. And that feels good to me. That feels in integrity with me. You know, she's been with me through every iteration of my business, and there's 9 million reasons why that feels right to me. And I will say some of that long-term client and a couple others, I have increased their rates a little bit every year, but they never will line up to my existing rates. And then about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I started locking people in. So all of that is to say the details aren't important because I like to grandfather my clients in their rates. If I double my prices, that's great to help me raise my income for the newly coming in people, but that does not serve me, right? That actually incentivizes, if I'm only looking at my business from the perspective of dollars, then that actually incentivizes me to go out and get some new clients and to not serve my existing clients so that they'll leave me so I can create a space for somebody to pay me the current rate, right? That's just not how I want to be. And that's why I have that policy. And so again, I can triple my income, but I'm going to do it in a way that feels right and good to me. And if you want to raise your rates on your clients, it's not a problem. Everybody's business model is different. But again, this isn't about looking at it on the surface. This is about going with what feels right to you as a business owner and knowing that you can still make good money doing that. Yes, there are plenty of things I could have done this past year that would have made me more money. I made some decisions that did not make me as much money as it could have, but that is not the number one primary factor above all else for me. For me, fulfillment is equally important. And I'm always moving and adjusting things in my business and my strategy with my team, with my clients to stay lined up with both profit and fulfillment. And because that feels good to me. So again, things that don't look obvious on the surface. I didn't triple my income last year because I raised my rates or because I doubled my rates. That was a piece of the puzzle for sure. But because I have such a high renewal rate, and then did I write down? Oh, I know the other thing that happened last year. So I have so many people, I have 50% of my clients that have, as of last year, been with me for at least a year, maybe up to 4. So I have that at play, all at lower rates than the regular. And then in June, was May or June of last year was the last time in that whole year. Now, I didn't know this was going to happen at the time. I signed my last new client of the year in May or June. So I have a 5-month program. So let's pretend it was May, June, July, August, September. So I had clients that would have renewed in September. So I was fully booked by, I think it was May, fully booked in my one-on-ones, which meant that I wasn't taking on any more clients until or unless somebody moved on and stopped working with me when they were up for renewal. Well, what happened to me, to my business last year is not only did that many people celebrate annual anniversaries with me last year, but everybody renewed last year to the point where I didn't have any new clients come in until January. So I didn't sign a single new person at those new rates until January. So even though I technically doubled my rates, like my rates were 6,500 in the second half of the year last year, I actually didn't have anybody come in at that rate. And I've moved my rates up since then, but nobody came in at that rate. It's just the way that it worked. I kept having clients that I would think would wrap up based on various things. And then it turned out they would renew. So I ended up having renewals at the last year's rates and the year before that rates and the year before that rates, right? So none of the math in that way adds up to being able to triple my income just in that, looking at it from that perspective alone. I hope that makes sense. And I talked a lot about, well, I'll get to that in a second. Let me just double check. Yes, 450. You can probably raise your rates, dear. Anyway, so again, I want to encourage you. What is happening? Sorry, Facebook keeps changing on me, and I want to look at you guys while I'm talking. I want to encourage you to start looking at, especially if you're plagued with comparisonitis. But I also want to encourage you to look at your business from a more of a systems perspective, that just like the body, every element of your business is affected by the other elements of your business. And for those of you, for all of us who are running heart-centered businesses where we have to take into account the business owner and the business owner's style and the type of work you provide to people, when you make assessments around the business and the values that the person has, right? Because if you were only looking at my business from the perspective of dollars, you might consult me to say, why are you grandfathering your clients in and letting them just keep renewing? You're never going to make more money, right? That is what feels right to me. And again, I also want to break through this concept of like, and if you follow that perspective because that feels right to you, it doesn't mean that you can't make money. You do have to do some things around that. And I'm going to talk about, again, there's various factors that happened last year. I think it's really important to think about your business at all levels and all aspects and how they're interdependent with one another, and that you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't judge a business by just its dollars. Okay. Yeah. So the other thing that I want to talk about, and I talked a lot about this in the part one. So if you're interested in the aspect, one of the biggest things that changed for me last year is that I'm in 2021, I had a certain balance of one-on-one, and I ran a group coaching program as well. And then when I moved into 2021 for various reasons, and I explain a whole long story, it's fascinating. In the part one, I ultimately decided not to run a group in 2021, which meant that instead of only serving this many one-on-one clients, I was able to open up space for more one-on-one clients because I wasn't running the group. So I had the time for additional one-on-ones where I would have spent that time on the group. Now, I see so many people out in the online space talk about how the only way to make money as a coach or a therapist or whatever, one-on-one service provider, healers that you want to insert here, that the only way to make money is with a group, or the only way to make good money is with a group, or the only way to scale your income is with a group. So I knocked that down last year too, because I took my group away and I ended up tripling my income, right? The simple math on the surface, you would not think that was true, but it's all about me continuing to lean into fulfillment over and over and over and over again. In 2020, I really wanted a balance. I wanted a little bit of both. I wanted some one-on-ones and I wanted some group stuff. And I found the right balance for me. I was, okay. Forget to say that in a minute. So what was fulfilling for me in 2020 was a little bit different than what was fulfilling for me in 2021. And in 2021, I actually landed on wanting to serve more people one-on-one. And so I followed that fulfillment and I opened up space on my calendar. And ultimately, even though I was fully booked, I don't even need to use this, I was fully booked for the Q2 for the rest of the year. I think it was April or May when I started being fully booked. Even though that was the case and people kept renewing, I was still able to triple my income. So again, part of that, and this is what I want to talk about fully booked, part of that is because what was fully booked for me in 2020 was different than 2021. Part of that is because I raised my rates, right? So there's several layers and factors that happen. Part of that is because I was able to work more because I started bringing on team members. So that meant that I had a little more space in my calendar, a little more energetic availability, a little more emotional ability to support my more clients one-on-one. And part of that was also because in 2020, even though I had one-on-one and a group, I was not fully booked in my one-on-ones the majority of the year. I'd have to go back and look how much I was how close I was to being fully booked with the group and the one-on-ones. So that's the other piece, right? So I was better at selling people into my programs. I was better at bringing people on board. And that's just a compound effect, right? Every single thing that I did, and this is, I think, one of the big lessons, every single thing I've done in the last almost 4.5 years in business has been a compound effect. every single thing I've done, from in-person networking to posting in Facebook groups online to growing and building this Facebook community, which I'm so, so proud of. I absolutely love this group. The energy in here is absolutely amazing. If you're new to this group, welcome. And if you're not posting and sharing your information here in this group, I highly encourage you to do so. You can promote your stuff on Tuesdays and Fridays. Please do it inside the comments, and you can share value anytime you want during the week. We do have some rules. Please look at those. But this is a community that I just absolutely adore. And I've had so much fun, you know, really showing up in here. But this is also a community that really serves my business. And I do get clients from this group. And I know lots of people who are getting clients from this group. And so all that is to say, every single effort that I've put out into the world for this business has continued to come back to me. Maybe not always as quickly as I wanted it to, but I talked last time about a failed launch. When I had a failed launch last year, I was still able to triple my income because I've been in business for a while. You can triple your income anytime you want. You can make tons of money anytime you want. You don't have to be in business for 4 years to do that. And I've doubled and tripled my income every single year that I've been in business. But there are many, you can't speak to one reason why I tripled my income last year. These are all of the reasons and all of the things and the decisions together made that happen. And so again, back to this idea of group versus one-on-one. I've been following a coach for many years now who just made $1 million last year coaching one-on-one. So it can be done. This is not a thing that you have. My business coach has a one-on-one model. You don't have to, and I'm not saying I'm going to let go of my group necessarily, but I did last year. And I think not let go of my group. I didn't let go of my group. I just didn't run it last year. But this is something that for me, the balance between group and one-on-one, the fulfillment for me continues to change, and I will continue to offer what feels good for me, because that means that that's what I can offer to my clients. Okay, so group doesn't necessarily make you more money, because I was able to triple my income last year and I stopped running my group. I also had what I'm calling it in quotation marks because it wasn't, but I talked a lot in the first part about what happened when I had a failed launch. I tried to run my group coaching program. I launched it in February of last year. It was supposed to start in March and nobody signed up, right? So you could have, and this is the other thing, this is all about, so many of these lessons are about the long term, about the long haul, about the big picture. You have to look at your business strategically and stick in it for the long haul and stick in it for the sustainability, because every single thing I've done gave me the opportunity to grow my business, to scale my business last year, to triple my income in ways that don't seem obvious. And so here's another example, right? I could have written off the whole year by February and said, well, I had a failed launch. I'm not really sure what happened. That didn't work. Guess I'm not going to make much money this year. Or I could have dug my heels in and said, you know, I have to run this group, so I'm going to launch it again, which wouldn't have been a bad decision. But the launch really forced me to sit and ponder around what I wanted to do next. And I actually decided to open up more space in my one-on-ones. And within a month or two, I was fully booked and was able to make more money than I was last year. And in hindsight, I talked a lot last time about like the energetic, how much energy are required of me to run a group. In hindsight, I would have made a lot less money last year if I had run my group, because I wanted to keep the group somewhat small, like 10, 12 people. I wanted to keep it small, but it required a certain amount of my energy. And so I wouldn't have been able to open up any more one-on-one spots. So I made more money last year focusing on one-on-one because it was energetically easier for me to do that, which means I was able to serve more clients in deeper ways. So again, You don't have to change your prices on your clients every year unless that's what feels right to you. You don't have to run a group. You don't have to always have a successful launch. And the truth is, and I talked about this in part one, my failed launch actually gave me because I committed so beautifully to my launch. I'm actually really proud of that launch last year. Because I did it the way that I really wanted to, people were noticing. I was very present. I was putting myself out there and marketing myself in a really aligned way, but I had also taken up my marketing. I was showing up more. I was showing up more often, and people noticed. And those are the people that ended up becoming my one-on-one clients. So again, that's why I call it a failed launch with quotation marks, because the truth is it succeeded. It just filled up my client list in a different way. The other thing I did, and I talked about this a little bit last time as well, because I injured my neck in June of last year, which meant that clicking on a computer, using my phone, and typing on a keyboard was really, really painful for me. And so I communicate with my clients in between calls through an app called Basecamp, where you type messages to each other, and I review documents that they share with me. All of that required this, movement that I wasn't able to do. I communicated at the time with my team over Basecamp, and had to figure out another way to do that. I write all my copy, so I had to figure out a way to do that. So all of this is to say, when June hit and the injury happened, I had to make adjustments. And in the summer, it sort of was a shift after the summer, but I was injured for the June through the rest of the year. In the summer, I made a decision for the summer that I would not write any new copy. I think there might have been a few little posts that I just tried to force out because I was so determined to keep writing copy. I really enjoy that. That's part of my creative process, but it was just not something that was easy for me to generate because of the physical aspect of getting it out. So we repurposed copy for the entirety of June, July, and August. So back to this whole looking at it on the surface, you could look at it on the surface and say, wow, she didn't put anything new out for the whole summer. If I don't put anything out the whole summer, right? And I really want to break through these ideas of what's possible. Okay, so if I could have said to myself in June, shit, I'm not going to put anything new out the whole summer. It's all going to be repurposed. What if people notice and are bored with my content, and I'm just saying the same stuff all the time, and then I lose my following, then I probably am not going to make any money this year, right? I could have said that. That wasn't the case. So I didn't hustle more last year is the other thing. I think last year, for the most part, is probably the first year that I've been in business that the pace and number of hours that I worked felt just right. That whole baby bear, Goldilocks, just right, not too much, not too hard, not too soft, just right. It felt on the average just right. I did not feel overworked. I did not feel underworked. So the hustle was not the way that I tripled my income either. Hi, Courtney. I was just checking the comments. I'm so happy to see you. Okay, let me know if you have any questions or comments or feelings or thoughts. And then similarly, in this idea of I did not hustle more, I did not do 75 other things. And this is not to say that action isn't important. Action is a huge part of what I've done for 4 years. Action is a huge part of what I did last year. One of the things I talked about in part one is that I really stepped up my marketing and my social media presence. And I do believe that that was a huge piece of why people hired me last year, a huge piece of why, well, more people hired me last year. People hired me before last year because I was more present, because I was getting myself out there to more people, right? Just the law of averages, the numbers at some point are going to turn in your favor. But I did not do that from the perspective of hustle. I did that with support from a team. I did that even with a neck injury. You know, I did that even by not creating any new content in the summer, right? So that hustle aspect that we all want to think is necessary. This isn't to say that you should you can sit on your couch and eat bonbons and watch TV and watch the money roll in. I very much believe in action and strategic, but it's strategic action, aligned action, action that makes sense, action that's efficient, action that generates income, not action for action's sake, right? And that's why some of these concepts and ideas that we want to believe are true, like if I don't post every day on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever place you go, then I can't make any money. Right? Because it's just not true. And that's part of my message today is you can do it your way. You can find a way to make it work for you. You don't have to do it in ways that don't feel right to you. I talk about that all the time. And then the other aspect I want to talk about around hustle is I took 5 weeks off last year. I took 2 weeks off in August, and then I took 3 weeks off in December. So December was almost a complete wash. I saw clients for about, I think it was the first 10 days. Yeah, I think I left after the 10th of December, which meant that my clients had like a week and a half to meet with me in December, and then I was gone. And I was able to give them support. I was able to give them what they needed. We were able to make plans. Everything was fine. Not a single one of my clients complained. Not a single one of my clients were lacking in support and what they needed. And I was able to go see my family. I was able to take 5 weeks off during the year. So I did not work extra. I continued to take care of myself. I had to take care of my neck, right? I had to stop writing copy so that my neck would heal. I also took care of myself by seeing my family and my friends and going back to the States. I did all of the things that served me as a person, and that also served my business. And then the other thing I want to share that I alluded to last week was I had quite a transition on my team last year. So yes, it seems to be changing by the minute. I have 2 team members on board right now and another short-term person who may stick around. And when I started the year last year, I had only 1 person on my team, but that first person is not on my team anymore. So I basically have 2.5 new teammates that I onboarded in 2021 with my neck injury, right? So I wasn't able to type things up for them. I had to get creative, and I want to talk a little bit about technology, but I had to get creative in terms of bringing on the right people, posting the job descriptions, all of that stuff. Now, I was never not without a teammate, so that I think feels important to share. I've always had at least 1 person since like December of 2020. I've always had at least 1 person, thank goodness. And absolutely every single person who has ever been a member of my team, from the original people to the people who just joined my team this month, absolutely every single one of them has been an integral part of why I've been successful, why last year was so amazing. And I could not have done it without any of them. And I'm super, super, super grateful. And we had that many people. We had 1 leave and 2 come in last year, and then 1 came in this year. So it's been a lot of juggling and team transition. And that oftentimes too can slow you down, can make you think, okay, crap, I've got to turn inward so that I can, so that I can take care of everybody. And I had to figure out a way to do that in a way that did not also slow me down. And so that's the other thing that, again, you could look on the surface of this business and say, she had like all this team movement last year. Maybe you can't make money when that happens. And I really want to offer you the concept that I think this business proved last year. And I think a lot of us have a mindset that like, you can either do this or this, right? You can either have a personal life or run a business. No, bullshit. You can have both. You can either onboard a team member or make money. Nope, you can do both. You can either deal with your neck injury or you can make money on your business. Nope, you can do both. You can, either choose to run a group program and make money, or you can have fun with your one-on-one, but you're probably not going to make good money. Nope, that's not true either, right? So these are all the things I just want to start to show you what is possible. And on the one hand, I think we know this is possible, but part of what this behind the scenes, I hope for you is that whatever like little thing I'm touching for you around this, that you can see where in your business you can apply these lessons, see where in your business you're applying these mindsets that actually aren't serving you. Where are you having either or thinking? Where are you deciding you can't have everything? You can't have both. You can't do both. You can't handle both. You can. And this isn't about hustle, but it is about you can do both. And part of what is so important to me, and part of what I think is one of my primary missions in terms of helping my clients, is helping them to set something up that is strategic and is sustainable, so that when something like a neck injury or a family crisis or a team shift happens in your business, that it's simply oh, okay, so we just need to adjust to this. Let's come up, like, you might have to like problem solve and come up with new ideas, but that the big bulk of the business can continue to move forward while you simply make tweaks to adjust to the new reality, to adjust to what's happening. When something changes in your environment, when something changes in your team, when something changes with your clients, that you have built something that is by and large sustainable, so that a lot of the big rocks, so to speak, can stay put and you can just move some of the smaller things around. Let me know if this is making sense. And then I want to jump to the last part of the conversation. Let's see. Okay. Oh, Tanisha and Courtney, you guys are so great. Okay. We talked about, yeah. So again, I wanted to really spend today talking more about like, what does it all mean? I spent a lot of time on the tactical, practical, like what happened, telling you the story last time. And so now I'm kind of trying to zoom up and say, I am zooming up and saying, what are the big takeaways? What for me are the big messages? I'm glad you could too, Tanisha. I'm so glad you could make it. And I think, again, I will never stop talking about sustainability. But I also want to talk about, like, one of the things that changed for me several times during the year was my concept of what I consider to be fully booked, my concept of what I can hold in terms of client load. And again, 2020, it was more of a combination between one-on-one and group. In 2021, it was all one-on-one. And what I realized, what I learned from that is, at least in 2021, this probably wasn't true in 2020, but in 2021, I actually felt more spaciousness with the same number of hours of client service. I felt more spaciousness with that in 2021. It's just where I was fulfillment wise. It's where I was with the clients I was working with. And I do have a lot of clients that I've been serving for a long time. And I do think that it does add to my sense of ease, because I really know the person, I really know the stuff they're working on. I know how far they've come. I know their history, and it's very easy to coach somebody that you've been with for a long time, that you really, really know. The deeper I work with, one of the things that way that I work with my clients is it's really deep. I really get to know their business. I really get to know them and their style, so that I can really guide them into what's the best way for them. And so that's something that takes more brain power and more energy for me with a new client versus a long-term client, right? And I really love to have both. So this isn't about needing to stay with my long-term clients and never seeing new clients. I always want new people. But it is about understanding my, capacity. My capacity for how many clients I can serve at a time has shifted and changed. And actually, I have a little announcement that I'm excited about. I think I talked about this in part one. But I've been playing around with my schedule because I have been fully booked for so long. And I do want to be able to keep growing my income, growing my impact, keep getting that balance of long-term clients and new people, new to me people. And I've been able to open up some space on my calendar for some more coaching clients. And that has been really important to me to be able to I'm going to keep working the same number of hours that I've been working every week. I mean, every week and every month. But because I have a team that's taking certain things off my plate, and because I have expanded my capacity for what it feels like to serve a certain number of clients, it's gotten very clear to me. I actually gave I might do this in January, so I've been thinking about it for a while. I actually really have the space energetically, emotionally, and on my calendar to serve more clients. So I'm opening up some more slots for one-on-one clients. If that's something that you're interested in, hop on a free call with me. And actually, I'm offering free sessions right now. I did that last year, right? And that was part of why I became fully booked. That strategy works really well for me. Meanwhile, I got to know a whole bunch of new people. I got to know a whole bunch of new businesses. I got to expand my impact. I got to bring more people into this Facebook group. I had a freaking blast last year when I did this. And so I'm doing it again now. So if you're interested in tripling your income this year, growing your business, scaling your business, getting help with your team, getting help with making business decisions, having somebody to bounce ideas off of, and to start growing your skills and capacity as a leader, as a CEO, as a business owner. That is my jam. That is my favorite thing to do. I'm super, super, super good at it. It's strategy and mindset. So hop on a free call with me, get a free session. If that sounds interesting to you, then of course we can talk also about working one-on-one together. But you should really take me up on this free offer because I don't know how long I'm going to offer it. But again, all that is to say, I'm bleeding now into 2022, but all that is to say that between 2021 and 2020, I did adjust what for me was my capacity. And some of that is because I worked that through. Some of that is because, I worked that in my mindset, and I worked on what feels good to me. Some of it's because I'm just a better coach. I've been doing this longer. I'm getting better and better every year. That's another reason why I keep raising my prices. And I don't need as much time in between client sessions. I don't need as much time to prepare for a coaching session. It's just easier for me now. And so the amount of time and space it takes on my calendar is different. And the amount of energy that it requires for me is just different. And so I can hold more clients and make more money and make more impact and grow my space in a way that feels good to me. That's also what happens, I think, over time as an entrepreneur. Okay. You're so sweet, Tanisha. She says, I can tell you're good at it. You're so encouraging. Well, and I think too, I didn't have anybody to encourage me when I first started my business. And that's one of the reasons that I started this Facebook group, because I think we all need some colleagues and teammates and buddies and people to support us and just remind us of what's possible. And so again, yay for me. I'm so happy that I really don't want to diminish. I'm so happy that I tripled my income. It's absolutely a success that I created with my coaches, with my team, with my family, with everybody. I'm going to cry, with everybody that supports me and supports this business and has for 4 years. That's a huge accomplishment. And it was really important to me to do it in a way that still felt good to me, that enabled me to still have a lot of fun. And that's what I'm here to show you that you can do too. And that's what I help my clients do. Okay, so get on a free session with me if you want a free session. I'll put the link here in the comments. A couple other things that we changed, and I want to talk quickly about technology. I'm just going to go through a quick list, but again, this is something to consider, and it doesn't have to be these particular apps, but this is something to consider when you look at just the sustainability of your business. Sustainability is everything. It's your energy. Can you sustain how you support who you support, right? It's having a team so that you can go on vacation and your business can keep running and social media can still keep going out. Sustainability is technology, it's systems, it's having processes in place that allow things to be repeated so that when new team members come on, they have access to things like standard operating procedures, they have access to all of your systems and know how your processes work, and they can, as easily as anybody can, learn something new and come in and start helping your team right away. Sustainability is about being able to put things on repeat for everybody's sake. Sustainability is about making big decisions, and then it's a lot easier to execute all the micro level decisions under that. There's all kinds of elements of sustainability. But when we talk about technology sustainability, I needed to use technology differently because I couldn't use my hands. So I'm going to just give you a couple of a quick list of some things. First off, I bought myself a stand-up, sit-down desk that has been invaluable because I've been able to move my desk during the day and change positions, and that's just ergonomics is everything. I have started using, I have a Mac computer. I've been starting to use what they call voice command software, but they have the same thing in different, like Windows, everybody has it. Siri is another one. Google, hey Alexa, all those things. Using the voice command software has been so valuable. There's a learning curve. I don't want to pretend that it's perfect, but it has been incredibly valuable because I've now basically, especially once I've got a little better, I wasn't able to click on anything in the beginning. But as I started to improve, I was able to click on a few things and then to be able to voice dictate, for example, messages to my team, messages to my clients, voice dictate my copy during the day. But you can also use voice command to tell the computer where to click. So you can tell it to click on file. You can tell it to say, open a new tab. You can tell it to open a new window. Again, that is a whole learning curve, but it has been invaluable. And I think it's important that we all know that it's available to us. I talked last time about using Loom. That's where you can record videos. And that also includes videos of your screen. So you can show teammates or clients or something, how you click on something. That has been invaluable. Being able to use my voice instead of my hands to communicate. I shifted for a little while. I've always used Basecamp. I love Basecamp to communicate with my clients and my team members. But when I was in the thick of it in the summer, I moved strictly to Voxer and Facebook Messenger so that I could use voice messaging. WhatsApp is another good one for that. We used, as team members, we used Zoom screen share. So when you hop on a Zoom, you can share your screen with the other person. That's how I was able to. Now, I talked last time, I did take a few things off my plate in terms of my things that I reviewed, like team members would send me something to review before it goes out. And I did really take that down a notch. I did not review nearly as much. And for a little while, I didn't review anything. Thank you to my team members over the summer. But once I was able to review some of it, that's what we would do. We would hop on a call as a team and my team member would share their screen with me and I was able to view the document and say, okay, can you change this? Can you change that? Can you change this? I'm not going to lie, that was not efficient. I had to pay my team by the hour for that, right? Of course, it would have been easier if I could have gone in and typed it, but I wasn't able to. And it was a workaround for us for a short period of time. This is all about getting creative, using technology in a way that can support you, meet you where you are. There was one other one. No, that's the end of the tech list. So I hope that was helpful. I just wanted to get super tactical and practical for a minute. Oh, Otter is another one. That's one of my new favorites for voice transcription, which we use now to repurpose videos. But I've used some others in the past and I really, really, really love Otter. It's really absolutely very accurate, very, very accurate. Nothing's going to be perfect, but it's really great. And then the final thing that we did, and this has nothing to do with how I tripled my income, but it is a huge piece that we added for my business around sustainability, which is we're still working on a few things, but we now have some systems and processes in place that make it so much easier for a brand new team member to come into this business and jump in. Thank you to my team. I also, one of the other big strategic decisions I made last year is I hired an OBM, which is an online business manager. Which is sort of like, if you've been in corporate, sort of like a director of operations. That has been incredibly helpful for me. That's a really big, number one, Amanda's amazing. That's a big part of why I'm opening up space for more clients now. But the other reason this has been so impactful for me was I was being drained by owning I'm just going to call it project manager role in my business. And that was taking a lot more energy it wasn't taking up that much time, but it was requiring my energy to think through things and try to coordinate between team members. When I brought Amanda on, I had 2 team members at that moment. And so I was not having a hard time. It was absolutely something I can do. It's something I've done many years in corporate, connecting dots, communicating with team members, all of that stuff. But I did need someone to sort of come in and own the project manager sort of role of it all, and to just kind of make sure that everything gets going. And that has freed, it's freed up my calendar, but it has really freed up my mind. And I always talk about, like, time is money, but energy is money, and energy is time. And when I was able to like close that tab, if you will, close that circle, close that thought process around how are this week's tasks going to get done. And some of that's because we have new processes and procedures in place. But when I could let go of being the one in charge of getting things out the door, that gave me more time and space for my additional clients that are coming on. And so that's the other piece, right? That when you, and this is, I think, sort of how I'm going to end it, is when you, going back to the first points that I was making, where I talked about how you can't judge a business by its cover, right? You can't look at it. Not a single one of these things created tripled income in my business last year. It was all of them. I'm also good at what I do. But the element of my energy and my brain power that was going to managing certain things, once freed up, shifted my perspective, frankly, on what I consider to be fully booked, shifted my perspective on how many clients feels good and comfortable for me, because I'm always going to err on the side of conservatism. I don't want to, number one, I don't want to overwork myself, but also I know that if I support too many clients, there will at some point be a tipping point where I'm not able to give every single individual client my all. And that's not something I'm willing to sacrifice. I would rather see fewer clients and give them my everything and give them my best. And so that there's always that tipping point or that fear that I have, right? But because I've been able to open up the space, I'm able, energetic space and the mind power space, I'm able to open up calendar space. And so that's the other thing that I think, and those of you who are service providers, VAs, OBMs, social media managers, administrative assistants, all of the above, people who are marketing managers, people who are coming in to other businesses and supporting them, I encourage you to think about the value that you provide to your clients in the terms of not just hours, but energy. How are you helping them to streamline their focus and their energy on revenue generating tasks, client serving tasks, whatever it is, creating the product, whatever it is that they do? How are you supporting them in that with the energy shift? you could take 5 hours off of my plate of work. And that's one thing, and that's absolutely valuable. But if those 5 hours are energetically taxing, or more energetically taxing is probably a better way to say it, because it wasn't a problem for me. But when I removed it, I felt like I had all this extra, I felt like I had 10 extra hours, right? So energy is also time. Energy is also money. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. If you haven't taken me up on a free session, I would love to gift you with a free session. It's 45 minutes, laser focused on you. I'll put the link here in the comments right now. And I especially hope that the people that sign up for these free sessions, I hope that the majority of you are in this Facebook group, because this group has been such a joy for me. And I would really love for you to benefit from some free coaching. You have nothing to lose. So hop in. I've even opened up space on my calendar, more space on my calendar than I had earlier last week when I announced this. So if you hopped in and you couldn't find a time to match our schedules, you may be able to see something now. Let me know if you have any questions as you're watching the replay. Thanks again for joining, and I will see you next week for another live. Take care.